This truck belongs to her rich admirer, and this bike belongs to her poor one. Both of them are crazy about her and invited her out on a first date. Her mom prefers the rich guy. She's always told her, if it takes the same effort to fall in love with a poor man as with a rich one, fall in love with the rich one. But she decides to give them both a chance. The rich guy is head over heels for her, so he brings $1,000 to spoil her and impress her. And the poor guy? He's just as smitten. So he dresses up the best he can, grabs the 30 bucks he has, and uses a little psychological trick known as the 10% rule. On her date with the rich guy, he takes her to a fancy restaurant with great wine in a nice car. He's charming, funny, a good conversationalist, and he uses his money to turn the date into a spectacular experience. Her mom is thrilled when she hears all about it. On the other hand, the date with the poor guy, well, he's also nice, also funny, also good at talking, but he doesn't have the same resources. So the places, the experiences, they're kind of underwhelming in comparison. Let's say the date with the rich guy is 4.5 stars, and the poor guy's date is a 3. And yet, to everyone's surprise, she never agrees to see the rich guy again. From the moment she gets home, she's already excited to see the poor guy again. The rich guy is confused. She's also confused. She has no idea she just fell for a psychological trick I like to call the 10% rule. The only one who's not surprised is the poor guy, because it usually works for him. This rule is backed by science. Before I show you exactly what the poor guy did, let's understand how the rule works and how you can start using it too. I learned this rule from Dan Ariely. This guy's insane. He spends his time running love experiments at MIT and has won a ton of awards for his research. In a talk he gave at Google, someone asked him, using your knowledge of psychology, how would you design the perfect romantic date? And he said, I'd focus on one very specific part. He explained they've done tons of experiments to prove this point, but the one that best illustrates it is about colonoscopies. Just a reminder, a colonoscopy is a horribly unpleasant medical procedure where they insert a flexible tube through your rectum with a tiny camera on the tip so the doctor can inspect your large intestine for abnormalities. It lasts about 30 minutes. It's uncomfortable, painful, and nasty. Now imagine we have two groups of patients. The first group gets the regular procedure, and the second group, after going through the same 30 minutes of suffering, is left with the tube inside for 5 more minutes. But during those 5 minutes, they don't make it painful. They don't move the camera around anymore. Because what really hurts is when they insert it and move it around. So, the first group goes through 30 minutes of suffering, and the second group goes through those same 30 minutes of suffering, plus 5 extra minutes that are also unpleasant, but not as bad as the first 30. Now here's the interesting part. Which group do you think rated the experience as less painful, less unpleasant? Exactly, the second group. What Dan Ariely explains is that the end of an experience has a huge impact on how we perceive the entire experience. So for the second group, since the ending wasn't so bad, they remember the whole thing as less terrible. Weird, right? No one in their right mind would say, hey, leave the tube in for 5 more minutes, please. But that's how the mind works. And that's exactly what the poor guy takes advantage of with the 10% rule. Think of it this way. If you go on a 4-day vacation and all 4 days are just okay, a 7 out of 10, then you'll remember it as a 7. The average is 7. Your perception is 7. But if the first 2 days suck and get a 5, and the last 2 days are amazing and get a 9, even though the average is still 7, you'll remember it as more like an 8.5, because the ending felt so good. That's the trick. If a soccer match has a boring first half but ends with an epic last 15 minutes, people walk out saying it was amazing. But if the best part is at the beginning and the rest drags, people leave saying it sucked. The order matters. That's the trick. The 10% rule is powerful. It's all about focusing on making the last 10% of the experience extraordinary, because the way something ends shapes how people remember the whole thing. So, what did the poor guy do? How did he use the 10% rule? Here's what he did. He took her to a very modest place, but there was chemistry. They talked, they laughed, they had a good time. And he liked her so much, was so into her, that he said, look, I don't usually do this because it's out of my budget, but I want to take you for a drink somewhere special. So they went to a tiny bar, ordered a small bottle of wine, and after a couple of glasses, the poor guy pulled out his guitar and played 2 or 3 songs just for her. What he felt was real. You could see it in his eyes. And for her, that last hour was so magical. Not just 5 stars, it didn't even fit in 5 stars. It was more like a 6 or a 7 or even an 8. That last 10% of the date was so magical that when she got home and walked through her door, that's what stayed in her mind. That's what shaped her whole memory of the night. And she felt like she just had one of the best dates of her life. So next time you want to impress someone, remember, just like in soccer, just like the poor guy's romantic date, and even in a damn colonoscopy, the end of the experience changes how people perceive the whole thing. Next time you want to leave someone thinking, wow, take advantage of the 10% rule.